Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. I have Nathan Jones, who, as my guest, we're going to be talking about some really interesting stuff. The one thing I want to say about Nathan before I get into the rest of my intro is as I've been thinking about this interview and talking, I realized that he's created more video in senior living communities than anybody else in the whole world. So we're like with a super rock star because Rachel's our a video expert on Foresight. I've asked her to.
Is this where I step in?
Conversation. But before we get started,
let me hop in here. I think Steve's having some connection issues here. But let me back us up here. Steve is juggling a lot today, so he asked me to be a part of the conversation with Nathan, who is the CEO and founder of Dash Media. It looks like, Steve, you might be back in action, but you were freezing there for a sec. So I just wanted to let our audience know we're going to have this awesome conversation around video, the power of video, lead generation with video. And I know so many of you are familiar with Nathan, but I think you're going to really still take something great away from this and learn some new things. And he's got a lot of cool new things going on. But first, let's run our intro.
Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Hey guys, I am so excited to have you on. Nathan, let's start with who you are and
all right. Are you back, Steve?
Yeah, we're good to go. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Nathan Jones. I'm the founder and CEO of Dash Media. About 3.5 years old as a company, and I appreciate you having me on today, Steve. Excited.
Great. So, let's talk a little bit more about what you do, and then we'll jump into sort of this whole big question about how senior living communities can use video effectively. I'm going to start. So let's start with that, and then I'm going to sort of set the stage for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, I would say that we're a little bit unique in the sense that we're not a digital marketing agency or company. I'm horrible with websites and designs and things like that. We actually need some help with our website. What we focus on, what we're really good at is storytelling through video, through photos. And I think that the pigeonhole that's been put in has been with social media. So we tell a lot of videos. I think last year we were just over 3,500 videos produced with our senior living operators. And so how we fit in with senior living organizations is we're basically their content team. So I saw this need there's amazing marketers, amazing digital marketing companies out there, but there was a struggle with how do we capture all of these enough video content and produce 2, 3, 4, 5 videos every single week, telling the stories of our people, our residents, and our caregivers, every week to grow on social. Not many people had a solution outside of relying on your marketing director at the community or relying on your life enrichment director. And so we sought out to be the content production company for senior living operators.
So I love that. So I think that, so as you know, we love video. We do at least 2 live streams every week. We do a lot of pre-recorded stuff that we that we post on LinkedIn. So we're big fans of it. One of the things I've really struggled with is that I see a lot of companies producing videos where they're sort of life story videos of residents talking about their lives. And I think they're beautiful stories. They're heartwarming. They're powerful. But my question is do they actually make a difference in helping operators fill their buildings up? And so that's really the crux of it, is how do people use video in ways that are not only enhance the quality of life for residents, but are actually helping to fill buildings?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think it really comes down to earning the right to be heard. And so if you, as an organization, are only posting things on social media, if you're a senior living community, only posting things on social media to get something from the audience, they're not going to trust you. So you're not earning the right to be heard. And so how do you earn the right to be heard is the question that everyone seems to ask next. And that's providing value, entertainment, inspiration, education to your desired audience. And so our desired audience is people that want to work in senior living and people that want to live in senior living or has a loved one that lives in senior living. And so how do you provide them value? You share things that inspire, educate, and entertain them. And once you've earned that right to be heard, then you can start sharing testimonials and what it's like living there. And so, we pulled some data from last year, and the average post that we did across all platforms that was story driven. So the things that you're talking about, like life stories, marriages, love advice, things that has nothing to do with the senior living community, got about 11,000 impressions per post on average. And then testimonials got about 900. So if you only do testimonials, that number is going to be even lower because people aren't coming to your page after seeing those stories. So we believe in the power of using stories to bring people to trust and earn the right to be heard by your organization. And then testimonials do what you're saying, is like bringing them in more with a call to action to come tour or apply for a job.
Yeah, so you're causing me to do some rethinking here, which I really like a lot. Let's talk a little bit about some of the mechanics of it. Where are you seeing these videos posted where they're most effective? On social media, on their own websites, a mix? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I was at Senior Living 100 a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said that Facebook is the only place where our audience is. And then I was like, that is just not, I don't believe that to be true from looking at the data. For us last year, Instagram was number 1 average views by client. TikTok was 2, Facebook was 3, YouTube was 4. And we pulled a client, PS Salon. Are you familiar? Do you know PS Salon?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So PS Salon is probably our highest viewed. They get the most views. And basically, in a nutshell, we film their salons, their people getting their hair done in their salons, and we tell all different kinds of stories within their salons. Well, just on their TikTok alone in 2024, they had over 1.3 million views of 55 plus year olds on TikTok alone. So over 1 million views of people over the age of 55 on TikTok shows that there is people, like, we shouldn't just pigeonhole telling our story on Facebook. So that would be like, I would say the hardest part is getting the content created. If you have the content created, let's disperse it everywhere. I consume content very differently than you, and you consume it very differently than Rachel. So why not have these stories accessible wherever the person may be watching?
Well, the thing I really like about this, Nathan, is that right now there's so much bad press about senior living. It's really unfortunate, really small number of operators and companies. And sometimes, if we're honest about it, there are people who have bad things happen because they're old and because things happen in life, and it's not really even anybody's fault. And so the more stories that we can tell like this to just help people have a positive impression is really, really good. Not only is it good for the organization, it's good for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think that you have to earn the right to be heard, and then you have to share the positive stories. Like, the news seems to show up when things go wrong.
Yeah.
But you and I both know I don't know, but I don't own a senior living community. I don't have any stake in a senior living community. The reason I do this is because I believe in it. I see the people that live there, and generally speaking, they're incredibly happy, but they didn't necessarily pursue senior living most of the time. They just ended up there. But the most common answer I always hear is like, I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have moved in sooner. Well, why do they say that? Because they are constantly fed all these negative things, and life's going to end and bad things are going to happen if you move in. But if we change that narrative, then they're going to pursue it as their next stage in their life, not look at it as a last resort type of option. And so I think that that's the important of telling these stories in a nutshell, so that people can see themselves in the shoes of your people who are in the same stage of life, live the same quality of life or the same type of life, but just in a different, moved out of their home and into a senior living community.
Yeah. So there was I think Instagram, maybe TikTok, young woman, Sarah T. Neal, who was a life enrichment director for a high-end senior living community in Texas. And she had an amazing following. I understand she's not doing that anymore, but I found it fascinating to watch both her videos and watch the comments that came in, because it just made senior living and working in senior living look so good. And so I'm actually really anxious to go look at some of these PS Salon videos, because I think that the idea of sitting in a chair, it's a little like some of the stuff that Jack York does driving with older people, right?
Yeah, the vintage. Yeah, we're a co-producer of that show with Jack, the Vintage Voices. That's another one. We started in June, and it's gotten over 40,000 followers across all the platforms and reaching millions of people. And it's why we're just telling the stories of 100-year-olds. People are interested in that, and now they're exploring where those people live or want more information. They just want more once you provide them that taste of value.
Rachel, are you back?
I am, guys. Technology failed me earlier, so I didn't know I was talking and everything was freezing. So thank you guys for bearing with me. I've been loving listening to you guys, though, so I'm excited to chime in now.
Awesome. So I would love to. So how do you translate these views to growing your occupancy?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on the strategy of the company. So we work with organizations on a corporate level. We work with organizations on a community level. On a corporate level, if you have 30 communities and we're getting you millions of views, how do you tie that back to a move-in at a community? The unfortunate answer is you can't a lot of times with organic content. What you can do if you really want to hone in on that is there's a couple of ways. One, you can create a landing page that's specific for your social media profiles. Methodist Retirement Communities has a great one. It just says live here, work here. You click the profile, the link in the profile, you show up, you fill in your information, it lists their communities out, and you can easily track that. A lot of times, though, when you're telling these stories, you're building trust for the opportunity when a life event does happen and they are shopping for a senior. It's like a realtor marketing themselves. They're sharing content. Okay, I'm in the market for a house. Where am I going to go? Oh, I'm going to go to the place that inspired, educated, and entertained me for the last 3 years. So some of it, that the organic impressions, you're just building trust with your desired audience. Now, if you do want to see a direct ROI, like if I post this, how many move-ins I get, you can take your high-performing videos, you're posting 200 videos over the course of the year, take your top 5, add a location in the intro. So looking for a senior living community in Atlanta, Georgia, ? Run a paid ad in Atlanta where your communities are. And then from that paid ad, you can put dollars behind it. You're posting a video that performs well organically, so it'll perform well as a paid. And then you'll be able to get direct tours from that. by people submitting their information. The same strategy works for job recruitment as well. You can run a job ad same way with running those ads.
Terrific.
I love this, Nathan, because I think that is one of the things when you get huge views, huge numbers, it's sort of that next step of what to do with this. And I guess for me, as someone who loves dabbling in video and creating content, what are you seeing as far as the type of quality that needs to be presented out? I know with Dash Media, you guys go and film this beautiful stuff, and I think that is a huge part of the equation. What about things that are being made on your phone, things that are resonating? I was in a webinar and I heard sometimes when people are just perusing online, it's more about the vibe or the presence that they get from seeing your content, sometimes over these things that can be overproduced. You need like the right amount. So I'd love to have you weigh in on that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. One quick thought on the point I just made. We do work with individual communities, and the two individual communities, one in their first 6 months said somehow we got a 8% occupancy increase over the last 6 months. And so I was like, wait, what? But we can't take credit for that. We're just a big piece of the equation. We got them 5 million views in their first 6 months and their occupancy increased. But if they didn't have a good sales director, they didn't have good care, they didn't have good programming, getting views doesn't matter. Same thing with a community in New York. We work with an individual community. Their goal in 12 months was to be 100% full. They're 100% full after 9 months. And what did we do? We just told 4 videos every single week. We shared 4 videos every single week across platforms, and good things happen. So then the question is, well, how do you do that? That was what, Rachel, like, what is the quality standard that we need to follow? For us, on social shoots, I think traditional senior living marketing, you would be familiar with a video shoot, a standard video shoot. If you're redoing your website video, we're going to have good lighting, a boom mic, probably a production crew of 3 or 4 people, somebody asking questions. We do those kind of shoots, but not for social media. Those serve for a totally different purpose. With commercials and your website video, you want it more polished. Our social shoots, now we do have really nice camera equipment that we invest heavily in the camera equipment, specifically because lighting is really important on social and audio is really important on social. If those two things are off, your viewership, no matter how good the answer, will take a little bit of a dip. But where we focus on is making sure shoot day is filled with structure, and we're getting a lot of content. So on a shoot for us, we'll film 12 interviews of residents, 8 interviews of staff, a few interviews of family, and what we call side quests. We'll get a bunch of side quests. So the chef cooking, the activities, a tour, all kinds of stuff. It depends on the community. And so I believe I think that 5 years ago, quality didn't matter as much. You could whoop your phone out and just hit record, hit post, and you're good to go. But I think as all these creators have made it their full-time, you're competing with a lot more. The standard and the bar has raised. And so I think that you do need to worry about lighting and audio, but I do think you have to still make it look organic and real. It can't be scripted and fake, or people will just keep scrolling. So it's a balance. It's a balance act. How do you get high quality but high volume? And I would say the 2 most important things to focus on, you can do it on your phone, but just make sure the lighting is good and the audio is good.
Yeah. So when you go in and do a day, so you do all of that in a day, and that creates enough content for how long?
1 to 2 days. I know it depends on how many videographers we send, but usually we're filming every 3 to 6 months with our clients, back-to-back days. So 2 days every 3 to 6 months. We do have also a portal that people can send us footage. I would say that's about 10% of our content, where it is a 100-year-old's birthday and you want to celebrate it and you want to have an editor touch it up and make it good, make it look like the other videos. we have a portal that you can submit that to our team, and part of your weekly videos that we're making would just be editing that clip. So those come from cell phones, and they work, they can work great.
Cool.
And what's your advice, Nathan? I love this idea of getting high volume, but also getting quality, which I know you've got to make people feel comfortable on camera, whether it's the resident, the staff, whoever you're talking to. What are some tips you have for really creating that sort of presence and comfortability on screen like that?
Well, I would say this, we had in 2024, we had 23 videos get over 1 million views, 114 get over 100,000, and about 500 videos get over 10,000 views. I would say only 10% of those I could have predicted performed really well. The other 90%, it was like, why the heck did this just go viral? Or why the heck did this get so many views? And it might be something in the background that, that someone notices, or something that someone said. Like, we had a couple that got 700,000 views playing Wii bowling together, and they were kind of talking junk to each other. And she said, I've been beating him for 25 years in Wii bowling. And it was hilarious. But the reason it went viral is it got really viral in the video game community, because they were correcting. They were like, the Wii hasn't been around for 25 years. And so everyone's commenting that, but I would have never in a million years thought it went viral, because the video game truthers were out to get her for misquoting. So that's why I believe in volume. As long as you're not demeaning someone, or their dignity is challenged, I think we stay away from, obviously, those kind of things. As long as that's not happening, like, just share a bunch of content. And the things that you will think go viral don't always go viral. The things that you don't sometimes do. So the best way to do it is just create a high volume with good quality.
Yeah, I would say that as we've created videos, we've been really, really surprised. Again, same kind of thing. And we've been looking at the video views on our LinkedIn live streams, and we've seen some with, 10, 12,000 views on them. It's like, we have no idea why this video hit that and this other one only got 800. No idea. So yeah. It's really tough.
Yeah. LinkedIn, I would say, probably is the most frustrating too, because I feel like I nail a post, providing great value, exactly why people are on LinkedIn. It doesn't get that much. And then I post a picture with my son, has no value to anybody, and it gets all these views. And it's like, well, I don't really want to post my son to get views. But that's the frustrating thing for me about LinkedIn. I wish that their algorithm promoted bringing value, like you're saying. Like, I'm bringing value. Why isn't the views coming with it? And the most random thing then does bring views. But I guess it's just the way of the world.
Yeah, I on LinkedIn, I've had so many videos where it's me sitting on an airplane with a headset on, going to a conference that'll hit 3, 4, 5,000 views, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
Yep. I get it. So a couple of things. So I haven't actually seen it because Rachel just brought this up, and so I'm going to sort of let Rachel talk a little bit more about this in a minute. But you just published something on LinkedIn that you were on TV or something. Can you talk about that? Because this sounds amazing.
Yeah. So when I started Dash, the first person I called was Deke Cateau from AG Roads. It's a local nonprofit. They have 3 communities in the Atlanta area. I called Deke and I said, hey, I have this idea. I know you're all about changing the perception, elevating aging. And he said, all right, done, I'm in. So the day I started Dash, he ended up signing with Dash. And so we've been telling their stories for 3.5 years. About a month ago, one of their board members who works, she works with 11 Alive News here in Atlanta, the NBC affiliate. We did a video where one of their residents was turning 100 years old. And so she had seen that and said, started diving a little bit into what we did and said, will you come on the show and talk about it? And so when I was on the show, they were the host here choked up a little bit. It was wild, but people just they know that these stories are great, but then for whatever reason, they only hear the bad stuff that comes out of the communities. But when you can get someone to sit for 5 minutes and think about the work that senior living communities do and the people that live there, their whole worldview on it shifts a little bit. And so we just need more people to sit for 5 minutes and hear what we have to say. And so that was a really cool outlet on Tuesday this past week to be able to go on and share a little bit more about senior living and Dash and the stories behind it.
I love that. And Nathan, I hope you didn't mention this, but for people who don't know, I love you shared this previously, but not with Steve and on the live stream. But I would love for you to share the meaning behind Dash and the name of your company, because I think it's really special and it really ties into what you're doing here. It's really cool.
Yeah, it comes down to a message that changed my life. When in 2016, our pastor, I was kind of in a dark place and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, knew nothing about senior living, but I heard a sermon about this analogy of a dash. And when you walk through a graveyard, you'll see gravestones, and there's only one thing that all of them have in common. It's the dash in between the 2 years that they were born and pass away. And so it's a quick vapor. In James 14, it talks about life is a vapor. It's here today and gone tomorrow. And so it's a short amount of time. So it's up to you how you want that dash to look. And so at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to, figure out something. And I really prayed about it. And a year later I found senior living. It completely transformed my life and my viewpoint. And then when I got into it, I realized that people needed help telling their stories. And so I was like, well, the dash changed my life and it represents people's story. And so we want to exist to capture the dash of older adults. And so the next step to that is like creating a logo. And so I probably have the most simple, cheapest logo design, because the logo right here, all I did was do Arial, like an Arial D. And I was like, what's a really cool story? The best story in the history of the world. Well, it starts with a cross. So I just put a cross in the middle of a D. And I was like, okay, that looks good enough. Let's keep that as our logo. And so that's the story of how Dash got started.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Don't simplify the logo though. It's very well thought. All right, Nathan, I got you. No, but I love that idea of, particularly talking about this recent interview you did and sort of getting the stories of senior living out there on a larger scale and changing this perception. And, throughout the interviews you were having the conversation, what do you think resonated with the host who was interviewing you and made her want to talk about this? And how can we sort of maybe work to translate this throughout our space here and the industry and change this perception? Because it's really challenging.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that people appreciate realness and authenticity and admitting when you're wrong about something. And I think what I said in that interview was that I told the experience about my first time going to a senior living community, which was a Thrive senior living community up in Gainesville, Virginia. It's where I ended up meeting, how I got connected with Jack York, who has been huge in my career and ended up hiring me. But anyways, I was selling Fitbits to college athletic programs, and John Glass, invited me. He was like, well, we want to do this with our residents at Thrive. And I was like a nursing home? Like, I sang Christmas carols when I was 5 years old to a nursing home and promised myself I would never go back. And I was like, those places are scary to me. I don't want to go. And he was like, no, just trust me, come. And so I had like $100 in my bank account. So I couldn't afford a hotel room. I went and slept in the airport of DC, and I had my tuxedo from our football banquet. So I showed up to a grand opening in a tuxedo as a 22-year-old, had no idea what I was doing, went, and I met these residents, and the stories blew me away. And I was blown away with how nice the community was, how it smelled, like everything about it. It's just my perception completely got flipped. And I told that story on air, and I said, I was wrong. And she goes, yeah, I guess I'm wrong too. Like, people just have this stigma because they haven't, she might've not said she was wrong too, but You could see it, like it was different. And she said, I appreciate you saying that you had a moment of self-reflection and changing your view, because a lot of us need that. And I think that's, when I talk about that 5 minute, we just need everyone's attention for 5 minutes to show what we're doing. I think it boils down to that, admitting that a lot of us are here, but we didn't always think the way that we do about the industry, but we do because of what we see every day.
Yeah.
So Nathan, that's such a great story. I love this. So if you could sort of get in the head of every senior living executive out there and channel to them, here's what you need to do to make your community in your marketplace look better, which will make our whole industry look better. What's one or two pieces of advice you would offer?
Why do we all come to the industry? And it's because we love the stories of the seniors, the residents. And so if you want people to love your organization as much as you love the industry and your organization, you have to show your people. And your people are your residents and the people they'll see in the communities. And I think when you do that, the beautiful part about the way media works today is you used to have to pay millions of dollars to TV productions if you're a national company to get seen. If you invest in telling your story in a powerful, impactful way now, you're building an audience that you own. And so someday, like, if you build up all these people watching your company's content and your stories, you don't need to go to the news to get a bunch of people to see your people. You can you can build your own audience. And so I think if you're a senior living executive and you're in the industry long term, I would say invest in building an audience that trusts your brand and your people through your people.
Your storytelling has made a compelling case for Dash Media. I want to give you the last 45 seconds to talk to people about how they can work with you, how to find you.
Yeah, I think reach out to on LinkedIn or go to our website, my-media.com. That would be great. I'd be happy to talk. I talk to people all the time that we don't work with, but I can give advice and help out and look at your pages and tell you what you shouldn't do or what I would change. And sometimes it helps. Sometimes it's just good to connect people with that are like-minded and passionate about this industry. So I really appreciate everything you've done, Steve and Rachel. You guys do an amazing job. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Yep. Rachel, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Nathan, thank you for what you're doing. I love your passion for the work you're doing, the people, the storytelling. I think I do think that the biggest void we have right now in senior living is we're just not as good at storytelling as we should be, and you're helping to fill that gap, right? And that is really, really amazing. Hang on for just a second. We'll be back next week with two great shows, Tech Tuesday and Foresight TV next Friday.